The era of colonialism marked a significant period in world history, characterized by European nations' expansion and the establishment of vast empires across the globe. This video delves into the colonial endeavors of European empires and the profound impact of the white race in shaping power dynamics, cultural exchanges, economic exploitation, and the enduring legacies of colonialism. European powers, such as Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands, embarked on a quest for wealth, power, and resources that drove their colonial ambitions. These nations sought to exploit the vast riches of newly discovered lands, including precious metals, spices, and agricultural products. The desire for economic dominance and increased political influence drove the expansion of European empires. The expansion of European empires was underpinned by the notion of white racial superiority, which became a key driver of colonial policies. Europeans regarded themselves as racially superior and justified their conquests based on pseudoscientific theories of racial hierarchy. This belief system reinforced the subjugation and exploitation of indigenous populations, leading to systemic discrimination and the suppression of local cultures and traditions. Colonialism brought about economic exploitation on an unprecedented scale. European powers imposed extractive economic systems, exploiting the natural resources and labor of colonized regions for their own benefit. Indigenous populations were often subjected to forced labor, plantation agriculture, and the extraction of valuable resources, leading to immense wealth accumulation in European capitals while perpetuating poverty and underdevelopment in colonized territories. European colonial powers sought to impose their cultural, religious, and societal norms upon colonized peoples. Indigenous cultures, languages, and traditions were often denigrated, suppressed, or erased in favor of European customs. This cultural assimilation aimed to erase the identity and autonomy of indigenous populations, further reinforcing colonial dominance and control. Colonialism also sparked resistance and independence movements by colonized peoples. Throughout history, individuals and groups fought against colonial oppression, seeking self-determination and liberation. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi in India, Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, and Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam spearheaded movements that challenged European dominance, ultimately leading to the dismantling of colonial empires. The legacies of colonialism continue to shape societies and impact global power dynamics today. Many post-colonial nations grapple with the enduring effects of economic exploitation, political instability, and social divisions that were products of the colonial era. The scars of colonialism can be seen in the persistence of racial inequalities, ongoing conflicts, and the challenges faced in forging inclusive and equitable societies. The expansion of European empires during the era of colonialism was driven by the motives of wealth, power, and racial dominance. The white race played a central role in shaping the dynamics of colonialism, perpetuating racial hierarchies, economic exploitation, and cultural suppression. While the era of colonialism has officially come to an end, its legacies persist in the form of economic disparities, social divisions, and ongoing struggles for decolonization and equality. By understanding the impact of colonialism, we can foster dialogue, reconciliation, and work towards a more equitable and just world that acknowledges the profound historical injustices inflicted upon colonized peoples. Scientific racism, a pseudoscientific ideology that emerged in the 18th and 19th centuries, played a pivotal role in shaping racial hierarchies and reinforcing notions of white superiority. Scientific racism emerged during the Enlightenment era as European thinkers sought to understand human diversity within a framework of rationality and categorization. Influenced by prevailing social, economic, and political factors, pseudoscientific theories began to emerge, proposing that certain racial groups were inherently superior or inferior based on perceived biological differences. Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish botanist and zoologist, is often credited with developing the taxonomy of human races. In his book, Systema Naturae, 1758, he classified humans into distinct racial categories, including Homo europaeus, white Europeans, Homo americanus, Native Americans, Homo asiaticus, Asians, and Homo africanus, Africans. This categorization established a hierarchical framework that placed white Europeans at the top. Samuel Morton, an American physician and anthropologist, contributed to the rise of scientific racism through his research on craniometry, the measurement of skull size and shape. Morton's studies purported to show a correlation between skull size and intelligence, suggesting that whites had larger skulls and therefore greater intellectual capacity. This flawed methodology supported the notion of white superiority and perpetuated racial hierarchies. The theory of social Darwinism, popularized by British philosopher Herbert Spencer, applied Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection to human societies. Spencer argued that societies progressed through a process of survival of the fittest, with white European societies seen as the most advanced. This ideology served to legitimize imperialism, colonization, and the subjugation of non-white races. Eugenics, a movement advocating for the improvement of the human race through selective breeding, gained prominence in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. British scientist Francis Galton, a cousin of Charles Darwin, was a key proponent of eugenics. Galton argued for the preservation and promotion of desirable traits within the white population, further reinforcing the notion of white superiority and the need for racial purity. Scientific racism and the rise of racial hierarchies had far-reaching consequences for both oppressed and privileged groups. It provided a pseudo-intellectual justification for colonialism, slavery, and racial discrimination, perpetuating systems of power, privilege, and oppression. Racial hierarchies reinforced social, economic, and political disparities that continue to shape societies today, demanding ongoing efforts to challenge and dismantle these structures. The rise of scientific racism and the construction of racial hierarchies deeply impacted the white race. Pseudoscientific theories were used to justify white superiority, leading to the perpetuation of systemic racism and the marginalization of non-white populations. Understanding this history is essential for recognizing the enduring consequences of these ideologies and working towards a more equitable and inclusive future. By challenging and dismantling the flawed notions of racial superiority, we can strive towards a society that celebrates and respects the inherent dignity and worth of all individuals, regardless of their race or ethnicity.